Face the discomfort and you will be rewarded. Good evening, everyone. So, finally, we are gathered here for the XAT 2025 detailed exam analysis. Very warm welcome to the OGs from Supergrad's team. Very warm welcome, Bhushan Sir. He could not make it to the center, but he's joining directly from the car. Very warm welcome, Shruti Mam, and both of them have written the examination today. So yes, the experience is different, and they will be telling their own story in this particular live analysis
Namaste
session.
everyone. Namaste Rahul.
Namaste,
Namaste
namaste.
Bhushan.
Okay, so
Namaste,
we'll be covering the student feedback and reactions, surprise element in the examination, the kind of questions that were asked, level of difficulty, बहुत important होने वाला है, number of attempts or the good attempts, and finally the expected cutoffs as well. So expected cutoff जानना है तो last slide तक आपको बने रहना पड़ेगा. So so Shruti ma'am and Bhushan sir, एक strange चीज दिखी. We were in the field today and we were taking a lot of feedback and reactions. और बहुत different kind of reactions मिल रहे थे. So कुछ students कह रहे थे it was quite tricky for students. Then some of the students specifically mentioned the paper was lengthy. So कल तक हम सलाह दे रहे थे students को कि ना ये 170 मिनट का गेम होने वाला है. यहाँ पर आपको टाइम के बारे में नहीं सोचना है, बट कहीं ना कहीं यहाँ पर लेंथ दिखी है. साइंटिफिक कैलकुलेटर का उतना यूज नहीं दिखा है. GK was easy and doable. So these are the reactions that were actually coming from the student fraternity. According to some students, that exam was easier than 2024. Questions were majorly asked on Nobel Prizes and awards, majorly related to national news, and they were thereby doable. So, no change in the VLR section, similar to the previous year level only. So, the student reactions, the immediate student reactions that were actually coming out when the students were coming out. So, we compiled them and had put it in this particular slide. According to you, how much of this particular part is the truth? Bhushan sir and Shruti ma'am.
Shruti ma'am, would you go ahead?
Okay. So tricky, yes, it is expected of that because they give that academic, challenge to the students. And obviously, if they're giving you 170 minutes, they'll consume every bit of it. So there is no doubt about it. They have maintained their, status quo, and obviously they give that challenge, so students would find that heat. All right, while solving the questions, I would say that it was lengthy. I would say DI was lengthy. If I'm not wrong, Bhushan would be able to give details, but I found DI quite lengthy. If I talk about RCs, lengthy RCs were easier ones, and shorter RCs were the tougher ones. That was the entire, game plan of that. DM, yes, there were certain cases which were catchy and took a lot of time because the options were very close. So yes, it was a little tricky. Yes, it was a little lengthy. No doubt about it.
So your take?
My perspective, yeah. Specifically from the point of view of QA, I think this was tougher than last year. And primarily the reason for it being topics which are generally not preferred by students, उनके questions का number भी ठीक ठाक था. For example, there were 2 questions from coordinate geometry. अब generally students will not expect कि 2 questions coordinate geometry से आ जाएंगे. कई बार पूरा topic ही skip कर देते हैं. Then you had a question which had combination of quadratic equations along with probability. Then there was a puzzle 4x4 grid ka, and you have to identify kitne maximum number of chances ho sakte hain. So overall, time and work ka koi bhi question nahi tha, which is a go-to section for a lot of students. Profit and loss ka directly koi bhi question nahi tha, which is a big go-to topic for a lot of students. So mere hisab se quant was definitely tougher than last year. When it comes to DI का part, DI were easy. सिवाय एक सेट के which was challenging. LR के भी 2 sets थे. I think one of them was relatively easier, one was slightly tougher. So I think overall last year के comparison में I strongly feel कि similar lines पे है. But when the response sheet comes, students should not be surprised to see कि जैसा उनको लगा था कि पेपर गया है और जैसा actual पेपर गया है, दोनों difference है.
All right. Now, what was already? I think you have mentioned some surprise elements. So, if you can highlight them once again, if possible. So, Bhushan sir, starting probability question आपने लिखा है QA में, yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So there was a question on combination of quadratic equation. So quadratic equation के जो cases बनते हैं, उनसे आपको probability निकालनी थी. टाइम कंज्यूमिंग, सुपर टाइम कंज्यूमिंग क्वेश्चन। देन अगर हम डीआई की बात करें तो डीआई एलआर सेक्शन में एलआर के सेट्स आते नहीं थे, बट इस बार क्वांट बेस्ड रीजनिंग का 4x4 का ग्रेड टिपिकल सॉल्व करना है, एबीसीडी R1 R2 R3 टिपिकल मैट्रिक्स गिवन है। जैसा कैट में अगर किसी ने अच्छी तैयारी करी होगी तो बड़े आराम से बन जाएगा सेट। देन देयर वाज अ सेट ऑन मार्क्स ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स अगेन। XAT में जनरली इस तरह के एलआर बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस नहीं आए हैं,
आते
सो दैट वाज वन। एंड कोऑर्डिनेट ज्योमेट्री में इंटरसेप्ट को लेकर क्वेश्चन दैट विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग इज डेफिनेटली फॉल्स, और उसमें द डिस्टेंस बिटवीन y इंटरसेप्ट ऑफ द टू इक्वेशंस विल बी 6, वो फॉल्स था। तो लोगों को इंटरसेप्ट ही बहुत लेवल पे क्लियर नहीं होगा, उस तरह के क्वेश्चंस आई थिंक विल बी चैलेंजिंग। तो ब्रॉडली आई थिंक सरप्राइज एलिमेंट यही था।
And I
एंड
think,
ऑब्वियसली नो क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम टाइम वर्क।
okay, no question. Yeah, you
VLR
already
में तो
mentioned.
कार्टून बेस्ड जो क्वेश्चन आया था, इट वाज अ बिग सरप्राइज फॉर एवरीवन, बट इट वाज वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग। आई मीन
Okay.
इट वाज रियली गुड to include such kind of interpretation questions, but it wasn't very easy also. It actually gave a second level of challenge
Clever
because
challenge.
you need to understand and interpret properly, and interpretations vary from person to person.
All right. So, Shruti Mam is making a very fair point. Some interesting question turned up that was related to the cartoon. And if you remember, Bhushan Sir, we had a conversation with Z convener also. So I think these kind of questions are actually, USP of XAT examination. They define XAT examination, right? All right. Let's move ahead and quickly we can skim through the type of questions and main topics covered. So starting with Bhushan Sir first for the Q&A part. Yeah.
Right. So for QA, I think arithmetic was a big surprise. Generally, there are a lot of questions for arithmetic, but out of 28, 16 questions were from pure quant, and DLR combined were 12 questions. So 16 plus 12, that makes it 28. Geometry के there were two questions, one on quadrilateral जिसमें opposite angles 90 थे, remaining 290 नहीं थे, data sufficiency based question था. Then there was a question on surface area of frustum जिसके ऊपर hemisphere रखा है और area के basis पे total cost निकालनी थी. I think these were the two questions. Modern math में there was a question on probability, and then if you include special equations algebra में, तो special equations, quadratic equation के काफी सारे मतलब 3 या 4 questions इन लाइन्स पे थे. नंबर सिस्टम का एक बहुत प्यारा क्वेश्चन था which was about 2 से 40 की रेंज में कितने ऐसे नंबर्स आएंगे जिनका कॉमन डिवाइजर 1 रहेगा. सो आई थिंक 4 पॉसिबल नंबर्स आर पॉसिबल, प्राइम नंबर्स ग्रेटर देन 19 एंड लेस देन 40. TSG का there was an entire set in DI जहाँ पे there was a diagram given for traveling between one place to another with a maximum possible speed, और उसके बेसिस पे आपको डिस्टेंसेस कैलकुलेट करने थे. द गुड थिंग इज कि अगर आपने ज्योमेट्री अच्छे से करा है तो पाइथागोरस ट्रिपलेट्स वगैरह आप बहुत इजीली यूज कर सकते हो. एवरेज को लेकर एक डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चन था. देन कोऑर्डिनेट ज्योमेट्री आई ऑलरेडी सेड 2 क्वेश्चंस. लॉगरिथम्स देयर वाज 1 क्वेश्चन. सो ऑल इन ऑल डिफरेंट टॉपिक्स से ज्यादा क्वेश्चंस आए हैं, बट ब्रॉडली therefore level of difficulty would increase, कट ऑफ लोअर जाएगा. ओवरऑल कट ऑफ भी आई थिंक इस QADI के कारण कैन इम्पैक्ट दैट इट माइट गो लोअर.
Okay. VLR, Shruti Mam.
VLR, as usual, if you look at 23 and 24 XAT, it was in line with that. 5 RCs were there with 3 questions each, so 15 questions of RCs. And as I told you, there were a mix of short RCs and lengthy RCs. And short RCs gave typically tricky questions and ambiguous options. But lengthy RCs, although students are a little afraid of reading lengthy RCs, but the questions were really good, easy ones. And if I talk about the VA section, so there were 2 questions of grammar, and you will be surprised to know that one question was an exact replica of the question which I had discussed in Zatathon. The very first question of grammar, which I have emphasized on, I've talked about the grammatical errors which are generally asked. So the same questions were there. Like we don't use about with discussion, we don't use on with emphasize. So redundancy errors and prepositional errors were there. So that was one question. And then the other question was on the determiners, less and few and all. So we have discussed these questions with the students. Then fill in the blank was very, very easy, vocabulary. Then if I talk about the poem-based RC, obviously, as expected, the poem was a very abstract poem. And again, people would infer according to their own understanding of the poem because it was about ceiling fan and emotions.
So yeah, Bhushan Sir was referred at it in the first impression also.
And it had nothing
So
to
the
do with
poem
the
was
ceiling
about
fan.
ceiling fan.
It was abstract.
Yeah, and it had
Yeah.
nothing to do with ceiling fans.
It's
So
nothing to do with
everywhere
it.
they are talking about ceiling fans, but
And
Yes.
so
Bhushan Sir,
very
you've also
interesting.
got one praise. So Shruti Mam was mentioning that, in Zetathon, she discussed few questions and that exact replicate questions turned up. And I think Mohammad Adil Khirani is making a point over here. He's saying some marathon really helped. GK ke 4-5 questions as it is aa gaye. So I think it's
Correct,
a
correct.
it's a right praise. I think we have done some good job over here. Now, let's discuss DM and GK also very quickly. Shruti Mam and Bhushan Sir.
In DM, there were 7 cases,
Yeah,
and although the topics are not mentioned, I suppose we'll be discussing it in the next slide. I suppose in detail.
yeah,
Then we'll be
that
able
we'll
to
discuss over there. Yeah.
discuss.
Okay,
Because cases were also different level of difficulty.
okay,
Not easy questions on cases, but yes, the usual ethical dilemma, then corporate strategies, business day-to-day issues, and haggling of shopkeepers.
okay.
Then there was this case of newspaper editors and their reporting on illegal mining. So that is very much of, which is expected of a ZAT paper.
Examination. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. If you want to throw some light on GK, very
I
quickly,
think
sir.
GK
Yeah,
students who would have attended yesterday's Zatathon
yeah.
for GK, I think would have been pleasantly surprised, especially seeing the Sverige Riksbank Prize for Economic Sciences in memory of Alfred Nobel, Nobel Peace Prize, questions on people who passed away in 2024. So there were a lot of questions directly. मतलब ऐसा लगा था कि यार कल का 1 1.5 घंटा अगर ढंग से कर लेते जीके तो would
आपने
have
उनको
done well.
एक्सेल में पहुंचा दिया ना वही है ना
और जीके में कम से कम 3 4 क्वेश्चंस ऐसे थे जो ऑप्शंस के थ्रू किए जा सकते थे।
राइट
करेक्ट करेक्ट
हम्म।
जो बुक्स का मैग्रो कॉलम था अगर आपको एक
हाँ,
भी
और
पता है
वो
तो
जो
यू
वो
वुड बी एबल
अवार्ड्स
टू डू
वाला
इट
था कि टाटा को तो
अवार्ड वाला
मिला,
था
तो फिर फिलंथ्रोपी, मनमोहन सिंह है तो
करेक्ट
स्टेट्समैन, सो वी कैन वेरी इजीली मेक आउट द
करेक्ट
ऑप्शन ऐसा।
All right.
ऑप्शंस आर इजी एज वेल या
हम्म।
Okay, quickly, if you can run through the memory-based questions also, then we'll be going towards the more interesting part of this particular episode. Yes.
Yes, so these were the 2 questions of grammar, as I told you already, that you can,
Yeah.
watch Zatathon and you can have the look at these 2 questions.
So, yeah.
Then vocabulary was very easy. Parajumble 1 was very easy, but 1 was really, really tough. I mean,
Okay.
it had dates, it had a lot of data of countries, and although I tried, but then I couldn't make it. So
इटली इटली वाला
Italy
जर्मनी
or
का
हाँ,
मास्को सिटी
हाँ.
या
So there was
आई डोंट
some,
नो
I don't know, maybe it's something, maybe I was not able to understand, but I found it a
या
little difficult. Then
राइट
reasoning, as I told you, that 1 was the cartoon and other 3 were inference and conclusion based critical reasoning. Uh, in that, 1 question was really, challenging to understand because it was about art saying something which is unsaid and solving the mystery of not saying but saying something. So it
Saying
was a
something.
mystery of, words to understand that and interpret it properly.
All right.
Passages were good as expected of that. Passage starts with work, greedy work, and how these corporates and they expect to exploit the employees and take out maximum out of it, take all their time from their family, from their personal things, and then it ends towards the gender bias of the pay differences, discrimination. So it
So,
was
yeah,
really like
just would
you
want to
start
add,
with something and you end with something surprising.
Shruti ma'am, I just want to add on this. That
Uh,
was really touching to see that passage because in today's day and age, a lot of startups believe in this that the more you work, the better will be your pay, and
uh,
there is no balance of personal and professional life. So on dot, I mean, a lot of people would have related कि यार सही बोल रहे हैं यार एकदम
In
वैसा
fact,
ही
अभी
हो रहा है.
नारायण मूर्ति और
So
उसका डिबेट भी चला जो गौतम अडानी का was on the same
correct,
lines, right?
correct,
Okay,
so it was
same
Shruti ma'am,
line.
just
actually on
So
the,
I'm curious
it
to
was
know
actually
this.
addressing the same.
Yeah, I'm curious to know this because you wrote CAT examination a month ago and that writing right now. Which was the tougher one? For only considering the VA segment, according to you.
See, both have different, expectation and different levels of difficulty.
Right.
Academically, always that has been a little more challenging as compared to CAT. Although this time I would say that and CAT both were, a replica of their previous year papers only, but
Okay.
still were challenging.
Still
I mean,
challenging.
I
Okay.
cannot say that it was predictable, so it was easy.
All right.
Aisa.
Okay, let's move ahead and talk about quantitative aptitude and data interpretation. Bhushan, so your take on this. Yeah.
yes. So big surprise, no question from time and work.
Yeah.
I think linear equation का भी directly कोई question नहीं था, special equation का question था. No question from mixtures and alligation at all. Uh, I think average का भी एक difficult question था which included concepts of median. So I'll, include that question in statistics. Number theory का एक fabulous question, difficult question. Mensuration का बहुत बड़ा time consuming question where
Okay.
surface area of custom is required. So I think overall difficult paper for quantitative aptitude and DI. I think DI was on the easier side. अगर हम decision making पे आए, so again on expected lines, set सारे लिखे हुए हैं. ऑप्शंस क्लोज से एम्बिग्विटी का हमेशा स्कोप रहता है. यू फील कि यार अगर इस पर्सपेक्टिव से सोचे तो सी आ रहा है, पर क्वेश्चन स्टेम ने ये बोला है तो आई शुड गो विद ए बिकॉज दैट इज द टिपिकल लॉजिकल वे कंस्ट्रेंट्स के हिसाब से. तो सी है कि ए है, एंड देयर ऑलवेज थिंग्स ऑफ दैट नेचर दैट आर गोइंग टू हैपन. सो आई थिंक कुछ डिफिकल्ट थे सेट्स, कुछ इजी थे, बट ओवरऑल इट वाज ऑन सिमिलर लाइंस एज द प्रीवियस ईयर्स क्वेश्चन पेपर.
Cases were, I suppose,
लेंथ बड़ी थी,
readable. Cases were
बट लेंथ
readable.
बड़ी थी.
हाँ,
केसेस की लेंथ बड़ी थी.
पर लेंथ
लास्ट
बड़ी.
ईयर क्या हो रहा था, एक एक पैराग्राफ के भी कई बार सेट्स
हाँ.
आ जाते थे. यहाँ
हम्म.
3-4 पैराग्राफ की लंबी स्टोरी थी और हर क्वेश्चन में नई
क्वेश्चन में भी
स्टोरी भी इंक्लूड
स्टोरीज
कर
थी.
रहे थे.
हाँ, बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
Okay. So, I think the paper setter has done his job, and I think he has done a
Absolutely, I
fabulous
mean,
job.
big
Yeah.
fan. Big
So if
fan
he's
of people
giving
who
you
have created.
170 minutes, he knows how to utilize that.
All right.
Absolutely.
So, same question to you also, Bhushan sir. I mean, what did you feel? I mean, CAT tough था कि ZAT tough था 2024 and 25 ZAT को compare किया जाए तो?
अगेन जिसमें ज्यादा परसेंटेज आ जाते हैं वो इजी लगता है, जिसमें कम आते हैं वो डिफिकल्ट लगता है. बट नंबर ऑफ टेस्ट टेकर्स आर डिफरेंट, नंबर ऑफ क्वेश्चंस, वैरायटी. फॉर एग्जांपल दैट इज मोर कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव इन चेकिंग द सिलेबस, इफ यू कैन कॉल अ सिलेबस. आपका ग्रामर भी चेक हो रहा है, वोकैब भी चेक हो रहा है, सब कुछ हो रहा है. वहां पर कैट में इट्स मोर रिस्ट्रिक्टिव टुवर्ड्स कॉम्प्रिहेंशन ओनली, मेजरली व्हेन इट कम्स टू इंग्लिश. डिसीजन मेकिंग का सेक्शन है ही नहीं. क्वांट के हिसाब से आई थिंक क्वांट कैट का इजियर था, जैट का वुड बी स्लाइटली टफर. XAT का पेपर वो स्लाइटली टफर, ऑल्दो टाइम ज्यादा है. अगेन टाइम इज अनदर कंस्ट्रेंट. वहाँ 40 मिनट मिलते हैं, यहाँ आपके पास इट्स योर चॉइस, यू कैन डिवोट 70 मिनट्स और मोर इफ इट्स अ टफर सेक्शन. सो आई थिंक दैट टफर है. कैट से दैट इज माय ओपिनियन.
Okay. So now, okay, let's discuss few memory-based questions of GK क्योंकि ये हमारे memory में जहन में सबसे ज्यादा रहते हैं. And I think कुछ लोगों का दिल टूटेगा, कुछ लोग yes बोलेंगे. So yes, let's see. आप कुछ questions जो आपको recall कर सकते हो और उनके आंसर्स बता सकते हो तो.
हाँ, तो आई थिंक दो क्वेश्चन तो मैंने पहले ही बोल दिए. एक तो नोबेल पीस प्राइज और इकोनॉमिक्स का नोबेल जो मिलता है, ये हमारे कल के सेट्स के क्वेश्चन थे. यू कैन ऑब्वियसली क्रॉस चेक कि कौन करेक्ट आंसर था. देन देयर वाज अ क्वेश्चन ऑन फोक डांस झिंसा. देन देयर वाज अ क्वेश्चन ऑफ फ्लोटिंग वाइल्ड लाइफ सेंचुरी. देन देयर वाज अ क्वेश्चन ऑन मैच द कॉलम फॉर बुक्स. तो मैच द कॉलम फॉर बुक्स का भी एक ऑप्शन अगर आपको सही पता हो तो आप करेक्टली आंसर मार्क कर सकते थे, बिकॉज एक ही ऑप्शन ऐसा था जहाँ पे वो, और शायद वो सबसे इजी बुक भी थी. आई एम नॉट एबल टू रिकॉल द 5 बुक्स एंड करस्पॉन्डिंग 5
H.G.
ऑथर्स.
Wells की
एचजी वेल्स
और
टाइम मशीन. टाइम
हाँ,
मशीन करेक्ट.
अरे
तो एचजी वेल्स टाइम मशीन
सीमाओं
मैच द
अरे
कॉलम
और
फॉर
बंदरनाई
वो
की
भी
बुक्स.
ना,
करके कुछ क्वेश्चन आया था कि आई
नाम
थिंक
भूल गई
स्टूडेंट्स
मैं.
यहाँ पे
कौन सा?
रिएक्ट कर रहे हैं. श्रीमाओ बंदरनाई
नाम
के
भूल जाती.
निहॉन हिडन नाइक के,
फर्स्ट
ये
फीमेल
कुछ टाइप के क्वेश्चंस थे क्या?
फर्स्ट फीमेल प्राइम
प्राइम
मिनिस्टर ऑफ एनी
मिनिस्टर.
कंट्री.
हाँ,
Okay,
अ कंट्री.
of a
हाँ,
country. Okay.
for a country. So that was doable. Then if you think of some other questions, again
INS
award
INS तुशिल
award
रशिया, आई थिंक ये भी एक आंसर आ
correct.
रहा है एक स्टूडेंट की
हाँ,
तरफ
कि
से.
कौन सी कंट्री ने मैन्युफैक्चर करा है, करेक्ट.
राइट
Then there
राइट.
was a question on रतन टाटा getting some award, मनमोहन सिंह getting some award. मैच द कॉलम बड़ी इजीली आप मैच कर सकते थे. श्याम बेनेगल फिल्म फेयर या फिल्म रिलेटेड अकेडमी अवार्ड ऐसा कुछ था. सो यू कैन इजीली एलिमिनेट द ऑप्शंस, बड़ी इजीली हो जाता वो. So I
Book
think
written
broadly
on
GK doable था.
space, I suppose. Book written on space, theme of
Yes,
space
book
and all.
written on space. तो
The
मैन बुकर
name, the title
24,
of that
मैन
book.
बुकर 24 प्राइज किसे मिला? हाँ, उसका टाइटल क्या था? सो बुक्स के
These were
ऊपर
the
दो
questions. Yeah.
क्वेश्चंस, प्राइजेस के ऊपर दो क्वेश्चन. ब्रॉडली यही थे.
Okay. Somebody saying I marked Benazir Bhutto, and I think it is incorrect, right? Okay.
हाँ.
Now let's move ahead. Now let's discuss the level of difficulty. So VLR, मैम आप कह रहे हैं slightly difficult than last year. अब specific reasons बताइए ऐसा क्यों?
I would say that the options are close and you can eliminate two options or three options at times, but then you'll always have that challenge of two options and then choosing one.
Right.
So it took a lot of time, and then you have to go back and read it, and then again come back and do it. And the passages were not very easy to read and comprehend. And it has always been with that. It's not the first time. So that's the reason why I'm saying that it was a little higher on the difficulty level as far as ambiguity is concerned. The questions of VA obviously were good, they were doable. If a person had a little understanding of English, he or she could do that, no problem at all. But yes, poem has always been challenging. Then the cartoon was again giving a
Again,
second level
challenge.
of ambiguity. And that is the reason why I'm saying that the level of difficulty was a little higher.
एंड फैन ने तो घुमा के रख दिया, किसी ने लिखा है कमेंट में. ठीक है.
Ceiling fan.
हाँ, all right. Bhushan
वो
sir, you
न्यूयॉर्क
have
टाइम्स का
mentioned.
था.
Yeah. Bhushan sir, you mentioned QADI difficult tha. I think you've already
Yes.
stated the reasons that major topics
Correct.
that turned up
Topics,
were difficult. Yeah. Yeah.
correct, topics. Primarily the reason of topics, but I think जिनका DILR अच्छा है, उन्होंने वो 12 questions बड़ी कन्वीनियंटली कर दिए होंगे, या कन्वीनियंटली नहीं भी करे होंगे, तो कैट के लेवल की अगर प्रिपरेशन थी DILR की, तो वो रिलेटिवली इजियर लगा होगा, इज माय थॉट. सो वहां से देयर वर सम स्कोरिंग अपॉर्चुनिटीज, बट प्राइमरली क्यूए की बात करें जो एक्सपेक्टेड रहता है दैट से, तो वो टफ था. DM अगेन वाज लेंदी, पैराग्राफ लेंदी थे, ट्रिकी तो हमेशा ही होता है, यू नेवर नो कि कौन सा करेक्ट आंसर होगा. So decision making was lengthy and tricky, and therefore I'm expecting slightly lower cutoff for DM as well. GK was easy, definitely easier than last year.
All right. A few questions from students fraternity. Sir and ma'am, when can we expect the response sheets to be out for this score estimation?
I
Usually
think 3 days.
3 days from.
5 days.
3 to 4 days. Yes, sir.
Okay. Then Tejaswini asking, sir, generally, how do they reduce marks? Like if I make 2 mistakes in quant, will it reduce out of correct quant questions or overall? Same thing for number of questions left out as well.
So it's like any other calculation that happens in any paper. So अगर आपने QA में let's say 10 करे, 8 करेक्ट और 2 रॉन्ग है, तो 8 करेक्ट के 8 मार्क्स माइनस 2 रॉन्ग के जो 1/4 के हिसाब से है, so you will reduce marks will reduce by 0.5. So +1 and -0.25 का simple system रहेगा, तो आपका QA का cutoff will be depending on that particular score that you are getting. So 8 minus 0.5, 7.5 आपको स्कोर आ जाएगा. जो -0.1 है वो दैट इज डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड अक्रॉस ऑल 3 सेक्शंस. आपके जो अनअटेम्प्टेड क्वेश्चंस हैं उसका इम्पैक्ट ऑल 3 पे अकॉर्डिंगली पड़ता है, बट उसका इतना नेग्लिजिबल इम्पैक्ट रहेगा दैट इट वुड हार्डली मैटर.
All right. Now, what would be the overall level of difficulty, Bhushan sir? Because you mentioned section wise. Now, the most important part is, was it tough or tougher than last year or moderate?
Tougher than last year.
Tougher than last year.
Definitely tougher than last year. Because अगर आप सेक्शन वाइज देखो, श्रुति मैम इज सेइंग एंड माय ओपिनियन आल्सो इज सेम कि VLR स्लाइटली डिफिकल्ट था. DM was lengthy and tricky, तो सेम लाइंस पे बोल देते हैं चलो, बट QADI इज डेफिनेटली टफर. एंड देयरफॉर अगर दो बड़े सेक्शंस 28, 56 क्वेश्चन आपके वहां हो गए which are definitely tougher. So I think overall paper ka level of difficulty.
I would want to add on to what Bhushan Sir was saying, that while I was solving decision making, we had those sessions of decision making by Bhushan Sir, wherein he has discussed those PYQs. So if I specifically talk about these 2-3 cases, one was event management, second was that hospital renovation, I suppose, and one was, I suppose that was assignment of work, expert trainers versus the newcomers. So I was so, relaxed in that case, because there were questions which Bhushan Sir has already discussed on YT, and I've attended those sessions. So it was really, helpful, because the cases were exactly, on the same lines.
On same
so
lines,
it gave a lot of support while solving those questions.
Okay. All right. Let's move ahead and discuss good number of attempts, I think. And you people have mentioned 17, 18. So if you can specifically mention these number of attempts are relatable to what percentile exactly also. So Shruti Mam.
Like, as I told you that obviously you'll have to attempt more because it is VLR, and but yes, because it was giving that challenge and you had to do other sections as well. So I would say 17 to 18 with 75 to 80% accuracy would have been a good, attempt, I would say.
Bhushan Sir.
Because more than that would be a hasty attempt or maybe some kind of, uh, fluke that
Right.
wouldn't work in that.
That wouldn't work, yeah.
Yes, just to add on, if we talk about in general all three sections, my very rule of thumb, basic rule of thumb that I typically share with students as well is try and target a score of around 10 marks across all three sections. तो आप डिसीजन मेकिंग में 10 नंबर ला रहे हो, क्यूएडीआई में 10 ला रहे हो, वीएलआर में 10 ला रहे हो, दैट मेक्स इट अ टोटल ऑफ 30 मार्क्स. आप कोई एक सेक्शन आउट ऑफ द थ्री आपका स्ट्रॉन्गर सेक्शन होगा जहां पे आप 15 ला सकते हो या 13 ला सकते हो, 12 ला सकते हो, और किसी एक सेक्शन में थोड़ा सा ऊपर नीचे हो जाएगा कि डीएम में 10 आने थे पर 9 आ गए, या वीएलआर में 10 आने थे पर 7-8 आ गए. On an average 30 marks are something that you can manage overall, and I'll stick to that कि इस पेपर में भी around 30 marks for
जीके को अलग रखते हैं, राइट? यहाँ पर
GK को अलग रखते हैं
अलग
because
रखते
GK
हैं,
is not
ठीक,
included in the overall
not included
percentile
हुआ है, हाँ.
calculation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 30 marks across each of the three sections is something which is achievable by good students. You can cross check the last year's cutoff and corresponding marks. मेरा suggestion या मेरा assumption rather ये है कि इस बार कट ऑफ 1 से 2 नंबर across sections कम जाएंगे same percentile के लिए. So for VLR, let's say last year it was 12 marks, then this year it might be around 10.5, 10 के आसपास. Same is the case for QA and DM. All together around 3 marks से 4 marks का भी अंतर आ सकता है on the lesser side, which means paper was tougher and the cutoffs might get lower.
कंपटीशन भी तो इंक्रीज होती है सर, आई थिंक. क्या हम वो
नंबर ऑफ
चीज
टेस्ट
रख रहे
टेकर्स
हैं?
भी बढ़ गए हैं ना.
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
Yes. So I think it would neutralize to a certain extent, but I think all said and done, I strongly feel कि टाइम जो है लास्ट ईयर बहुत ज्यादा अवेलेबल था. मतलब माई एक्सपीरियंस वाज कि आखिरी के 10 मिनट 15 मिनट ऐसे थे जब स्टूडेंट्स वर एबल टू पिक यार मैं ये टाइम अब किस पे दे दूं, ये टाइम किस पे दे दूं. दिस ईयर आई थिंक दिस वाज नॉट पॉसिबल. कहाँ 170 मिनट्स चले गए, दिस वाज द जनरल रिस्पांस ऑफ ऑल स्टूडेंट्स. पता ही नहीं पड़ा. ऐसा नहीं हुआ कि अब मेरे पास बचे हैं तो मैं क्यूए के और एक्स्ट्रा कर लेता हूँ या वीआरसी के वीएलआर के कर लेता हूँ. आई थिंक टाइम जस्ट वेंट बाय वेरी क्विकली. सो आई थिंक लेवल ऑफ डिफिकल्टी उस पर्सपेक्टिव से विल गेट नॉर्मलाइज्ड ऑब्वियसली बिकॉज लास्ट ईयर भी आई थिंक 1,35,000 ने रजिस्टर करा था, इस बार 1,42,000 है, तो 7,000 का फर्क है नंबर ऑफ टेस्ट टेकर्स में. Should not create that much of a difference in terms of competition, but yes, paper was slightly tougher than last year.
I'm asking a tough question now. I mean, from this particular dais, because this is a question that's coming from the last episode that we took. अभी थोड़ी देर पहले first impression में. I don't know. You may deny answering it because it's too early to answer as well. So 96 percentile या फिर 97 percentile या general engineering male वाला जो candidate है, that may be eyeing for XLRI over here. So
I think again,
yeah,
I'll be very cautious. I'll be very cautious while saying this.
Yeah.
Everyone, I haven't gone through all the question categories, varieties. I haven't discussed a lot with students as of now. So it's a very early call. But my, gut feeling, if I can call it, my first reaction is 9 marks across three sections on an average. So that makes it 27, 26 marks.
And GK में because XLRI GK
for
देखता है, that's why.
Around 10 के आसपास score.
10 के आसपास GK में, so that makes it 37, right?
हाँ, but GK will not be used for cutoff.
Not for cutoff, all right.
GK will not be.
But for evaluation purpose. अच्छा, cutoff के लिए नहीं use करता है. Okay.
Cutoff के लिए use नहीं करेंगे, ठीक है? Yeah. So you only need those 27 odd marks across the three sections combined. और अगर वो आ जाते हैं तो I think you have good chances. At least इतना तो बोल सकते हैं.
All right, let's move ahead and expected cutoffs already. दोनों हमारे ओजी फैकल्टीज ने बता दिया आप लोग को. थोड़ा सा पिछले साल से कम जाने वाला है because exam was on a tougher line, specifically lengthy था और QATI tough था. VALR भी tougher था पिछले साल से. That's why. So they've spoken a lot on this particular aspect. Anything you want to share now, Shruti Mam, Bhushan Sir?
I think my last suggestion would be just like CAT, something that is an important life event for a lot of you. Similarly, XAT will be an important life event, something that you'll probably remember for life कि आपने एग्जाम की तैयारी करी थी. But my suggestion will be अगर आप सीमा की तैयारी करने वाले हो, अगर आप बाकी और एग्जाम्स बची हैं, इंटरव्यूज के प्रिपरेशन बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट्स कर रहे होंगे. सो फॉरगेट दैट. आई मीन आई ऑलवेज शेयर दिस मैसेज. एक दिन कल का और ले लो, जब एनालिसिस करना है, रिस्पॉन्स शीट आएगी, तब आपका आधा दिन बीत जाएगा. बट आफ्टर दैट माय सजेशन विल बी फॉरगेट XAT. Start preparing for interviews, essay writing, group discussions, extempore, preparing your personality that we'll be able to talk about, and finally about CMAT and other exams that you might target. That's the only message from my side. Good experience to have in life. You have already had that. Let's just move on from this.
Let bygones be bygones now, and I think
अच्छा बुरा भी, बाइगॉन्स जनरली हम बुरी चीजों के लिए बोलते हैं. अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस भी रहा तो भी फॉरगेट इट.
don't be forget it. Yeah, okay, all right.
हाँ.
You should be getting ready for the upcoming things,
Upcoming
Get ready
things.
for the
So-
Yeah,
next
exactly.
best thing to happen.
And Supergrad
Maximum
Scat is
1 day.
also ready. I think Supergrad Scat is
Yes.
ready with a lot of GK sessions in the offing. We also are planning for some fantastic sessions on innovation and entrepreneurship. Rapid revision series is going to come for CMAT 2025 marathons. तो हम तो बार बार Zatathon लेके आए, हम Catathon लेके आए, CMAtathon लेके आ रहे हैं थोड़े टाइम में. We'll also be coming up with form filling guidance for top P schools and really very crucial sessions on GD, PI, VAT are in the offing. Everyone stick on this particular channel. Bell icon को press कर लो, subscribe बटन दबा दो. Not only that, एक दिन में 3-4 बार आ जाया करो यार यहाँ पर. ये सबसे अच्छा चैनल है Supergrad Scat आप सबके लिए. And so the process is just as important as the outcome. Learn, adapt, and grow with every experience. Thank you, Shruti Mam and Bhushan Sir. देखो भूषण सर कार से सीधा लाइव ले रहे हैं. श्रुति मैम ने जाकर एग्जाम लिखा है आप सब लोग के लिए. Supergrad Scat की faculties are there for you and they are going to handhold you ताकि आप बेस्ट बी स्कूल में एडमिशन दे सकें. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you, audiences. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
चलो डन. हेलो.
लीव नहीं हुआ था लीव